Hello there. I am back today with, guess what? Another album review. Today I'll be reviewing an album from a band that most people probably have not heard of. And this particular band is Horned Almighty. Here you can see I'm holding their third full-length album called Contaminating the Divine, which was released in 2009. Now, if you're not familiar with Horned Almighty, they're a Danish band, and they do bear elements of, the classic black metal sounds, but they're also known to include many other influences, especially thrash metal and punk elements in their music, which does set them aside stylistically from other black metal bands that are around in this day and age. Now, as you may or may not know, Horned Almighty is actually planning to release their fourth full-length album this October, and I thought that was a great opportunity to review this album here. Now, I had not heard of this band for quite a while until I picked up their split album with Stargeist, which, as you may or may not know, is one of my favorite black metal bands of all time. And I did like what I heard on that release, so I decided, let's pick up a Horned Almighty album, and I did, and I do enjoy this album here. I'll explain to you today the things I like about it and the things I don't like about it. Now, what you get on this album is 9 tracks, basically, and these tracks are definitely fairly short. That means this album's running time is maybe not as long as other albums you may have, but part of it has to do with the sort of the punk and thrash elements in there. This is very high up-tempo music, and obviously the songs won't last as long when they're playing so quickly. All in all, though, what's important in this release is the quality of the music and not so much the quantity. And quality is definitely something you will find on this release. Now, in terms of instrumentation, Horned Almighty pretty much bears standard rock instrumentation, guitars, bass, drums, and vocals. Now, I want to take a little bit of time to talk about each of these aspects of the music, because they're a band that, rather than forming catchy songs or catchy tunes, they work on a particular sound and a particular combination of sounds that they use to forge their sort of their style musically. With that said, this is not an album that is going to have a lot of catchy hooks, and you should know that going into this release. You shouldn't be expecting to be humming these songs on the bus or something. Definitely not going to be happy with this album, but it does have some very great musical work on here. Now, the first thing I'd like to say about this album is that the bass is actually featured very prominently on this release, which is quite surprising and quite excellent, because bass is always one of those instruments that can easily be forgotten in the mix and often falls into the background, with the rhythm section. But definitely not in this release. There are definitely sections on particular songs that feature the bass to a significant extent, with very little guitar at the same time. Specifically, if you listen to the Serpent Tempter, especially near the beginning, you can definitely hear they're featuring the bass sounds in there, the dark, growly tones, which is quite well done. It actually sort of mirrors the style of the vocals on this release to a significant extent, which I quite liked. Now, the drumming, for the most part, takes the style of punk, thrash drumming. Keeps the beat of the songs fairly up tempo, fairly quick, goes along well with the thrashy guitar notes and tones. But it actually does have quite a few good fills in there to keep it interesting, and I don't have any gripes with the drumming at all. There's enough variation there to keep you pretty satisfied with this release overall in terms of drumming. Now, guitar work on here is very well done as well. Instead of writing, catchy passages or trying too hard to make things melodic or gothic in tone, they actually stick to that thrash, but the way to keep things interesting is by altering guitar tone, playing with the interplay between the instruments, and that keeps things, consistent but also very enveloping at the same time, and it forges a particular sound that you'll definitely have in your head when you listen to this album. And that's what will stick with you after listening to this release. It's not the songs, it's not the particular riffs or vibes, but just that sort of all-encompassing sound that combines the different instrumentations together. Now, vocally, this album has a couple of twists and turns vocally. One thing that a vocalist does well is a very dark, growling tone that suits the bass quite well. And although this is the prominent style for most of the album, there's actually a bit of experimentation with the higher pitched sounds as well, such as on the second last track, Day of Purification, you can definitely hear the vocalist sort of doing a more demonic, high-pitched sound, which works quite well on here to a large extent. So all in all, in terms of instrumentation, this album is quite well done. The mixing levels are excellent. It's one of the things I love about this release, is that you can hear each instrument quite well at their particular times in their particular sections, which is not always the case with black metal in particular, because it's not typically a type of music that features great production or whatever you want to call it. That pretty much covers most of the sound on this album. Overall, this is a very enjoyable release. I am very proud to own it, and although this may not be as varied or as diverse as some other albums out there, this definitely contains a great vibe to it. Overall, in terms of the sound that it forges between the tracks, you'll know what to feel like and what to hear once you listen to this album all the way through. And Serpent Tempter is a great conclusion to the album. One of my maybe top 3 tracks, alongside Day of Purification and Doctrine Supreme. Great guitar sounds, great interplay between the instruments, and nothing to really complain about here. Check out this band, Born Almighty. You've probably never heard of them, but they're definitely interesting and definitely something just a little bit different in this type of music. Thanks a lot for watching this review, and bye for now.